crown. I need a ransom. I gotta get my crown. I need a ransom. I gotta get my crown. I need a ransom. I gotta get my crown. I need a ransom.
Now we're crumbing. Welcome back, Crumb Nation.
Crumb Nation.
Sunday in July. I don't know dates anymore. I used to know them a lot. Today's been one of those weeks, Ryan, where my phone keeps blowing up every morning about dates I'm supposed to be playing. Like I was supposed to be on tour right now.
I had a date in my calendar that I was supposed to play with you pop up today.
Was that right?
Yeah, or something like that. It was like Weber's Deck or something. And
the deck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be today, Weber's Deck. Texted Casey the other day. He's doing okay. Casey Weber, we love you if you're watching. Well, what a wild week, Ryan.
Oh my God.
2 weeks. Can we start by saying I think a lot of our discussion today will be Nashville centric, because they've been like off their rocker out there. But the day before we did the show with Aaron, which was 2 weeks ago, Chase Rice did a full on packed outdoor concert, but no social distancing, body to body screaming fan thing, which I was immediately like, I wish I knew about that so we could have talked about it. And now it doesn't even seem to matter, because if you watch the videos of Broadway where there's a flashing street sign that says masks are required, and then hundreds of people not wearing masks just walking right by it. You had Kid Rock and that group's bars, Honky Tonk Central and all of them, try to put a restraining order on city officials so that they couldn't come in their bar and shut it down. Today that I saw an article in the Tennessean that the judge denied that order. So there's at least this much sanity left. And then your favorite topic, Ryan, Lady Antebellum.
Oh my God. So all I've said so far is, oh my God. So look, we can all agree that pop country is the butthole of the music business, which is the butthole of the butthole. It's like a double, but maybe the hemorrhoid on the butthole of the music industry. That's right, folks. We're crumbing.
We're crumbing.
So I have friends who work in that industry. Like I get it, but holy shit, this is the craziest story. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, a terrible band called Lady Antebellum, which has a terrible name. If you don't know, that basically like Antebellum means before the war. Like the name is just about like the good old South before the Civil War when everything was great.
Yeah.
Their name was controversial when they came out. Like this isn't a new story, right? Like they had this controversial name. They knew it. People have been talking about it for a long time, but we stopped caring because they suck. Who cares what, that crappy band is doing?
Maybe I'm wrong, but they haven't been relevant for like 6 or 7 years.
I have no idea.
I haven't heard about them in 6 or 7 years.
But they came back up in what could have been the easiest win for a shitty band ever, saying, hey, this name does kind of suck around like all the protests and everything that's going on. We're going to change our name. They don't change their name at all. They just say go to be Lady A, which is, what does the A stand for? You didn't change your name.
Yeah.
And then come to find out that there is a blues singer in Seattle, a black woman who has been going by Lady A for 30 years.
Right.
And so this whole back and forth happens, and they're now suing her because they trademarked Lady A. And, she had wanted, the details are all over the place. She wanted them to pay for it. Mm-hmm. I think their negotiations kind of went off the rails, but the story is just insane.
It's
from
crazy.
the top to the bottom. It's insane, and proof that this business is full of shit. Because one of the things that I saw on the thread, like following this story, was people were commenting on it saying, how didn't this band do the research to find out there was another Lady A? And you and I talked about it, and you're like, a band at that level that has that kind of team, they did know. There's no way their management and lawyers and stuff didn't look that up, didn't know exactly what was going on, didn't know that the other Lady A didn't have it trademarked, probably thought, oh, this is an inconsequential, local artist.
Yeah.
We're more important because we're famous. And, and then go to do like the work. Like, wow, did you guys just really shoot yourself in the foot? I mean, how dumb?
No kidding.
Fire everybody.
Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot, and rather than taking the bullet out, they shot themselves in the other foot. It's insane.
It's crazy.
And it's just like the entitlement. And I don't know if anybody's ever listened to Lady A's music, Lady Antebellum's music, not Lady A. It just reeks of entitlement. Like, it just sounds like it's the soundtrack to entitlement. So I'm not surprised that this happened. It is still insane. It's like the theme of 2020 is now, I'm not surprised, but that's fucking crazy what you just said.
It's crazy.
The
whole story, and it's just so nuts because that, like, kind of what you were talking about, like, okay, so we've seen pop country throw concerts, like totally huge concerts in Tennessee outside, unmasked, like insane. The Dixie Chicks are now the Chicks, which
right.
Okay, and I mean, I think
it's a terrible name.
It's a terrible name.
They should have just completely changed the name.
Lady Antebellum is Lady A, stole somebody else's name, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about with this. I don't think people understand what it means for a band that's that big to take somebody else's name, because you do make her disappear from the internet.
Completely.
You make it impossible to find her, impossible to stream her. Like, it really does wipe this person away.
Right.
And I think that it touches on another thing that, like, let's look at music right now. What music is happening? What's helping in the communities that can do stuff? Local music is important. Local musicians are important. 30 years as a local musician, as a blues singer, is something to be proud of. And to just callously be like, oh, well, we're famous, so, screw her, is insane. And I think she wanted $10 million. She said she was going to spend $5 on rebranding herself. Okay. But the other $5 she was going to donate and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, of course, take $10 million. They want your name. Ask for everything.
Yeah. And like, if you're Lady A and you've made this, if you're Lady Antebellum and you've made this blunder, pay the $10 million. And like, you look like a good guy again. You're back on top. And it's like, you know what? We didn't realize this. We apologize. We're going to keep the name, but we gave her $10 million. And she's like, yeah, I don't care. I got $10 million and I'm donating half of it,
And it's just all this hollow stuff. Like,
right.
Oh, we're going to change. First of all, you're not changing your name. We talked about this already. Going from Lady Antebellum to Lady A is not changing your name. Everybody knows what that means. You're not doing anything.
Right.
This was a hollow gesture to get a headline. And then you proved it by actually not being an ally to
Right.
And your music sucks.
And yeah, and of course it's happening to an artist in Seattle, which has gotten so much flack for the the Capitol Hill free zone. And like, it's the most 2020 story of 2020 thus far. It's like the whole year in like a little capsule. Oh man.
It really I got real cheesed off.
The man is cheesed.
I'm real cheesed.
Get him some crumbs with that cheese.
Yeah, put a little crumbs on this cheese. I kept seeing friends in friends in the music business in Nashville kind of post about the Lady Antebellum story. And I was also wondering, well, like, wow, this has made you, like, your own community is coming after you, because some of the people that I saw post stuff, I know have played with that band or know that band or something. You know, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I definitely saw things where it's like, yeah, your own community is looking at this like, oh
boy. Oh man, yeah, and that on top of like the shows that they're doing, and I don't know if you've noticed, there's like a cross section of fans between like pop country and like weird classic rock, and like even like more like that new metal phase that didn't quite go away and just kind of augmented into like, I don't know what to call it. I think they call it active rock, and like yeah, like if you listen to like Sirius XM Octane, it's like active rock. There seems to be like a thread here in the fan bases, and before any of this, but now I feel like those are the three sections that are doing irresponsible, stupid shows. Those three kind of like, so like there was the Great White is doing an unmasked show. Like people that age, yeah, what could go wrong at a Great White concert? There's that like that Herd Immunity Festival that's like all active rock stuff. This Chase Rice thing, Kid Rock's on the forefront of all this stuff. Not that like everybody in those worlds are being irresponsible, but they are the ones doing it. And I wonder if there is any like and this goes for anything in the world right now. Is there any repercussion for any of those actions? Do you think that like their fans are going to get sick and then be like, you know what? I shouldn't support Chase Rice anymore.
I wonder, like, do you think that there's somebody who like got gonorrhea at a Whitesnake concert in like 1987 and then got COVID and was like,
Oh my God.
I don't know if I really should have liked this band as much as
you got me again.
Got Whitesnaked again.
I got Whitesnaked on my Great White.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's just so bizarre to watch, and yeah, like the repercussions of all this stuff. It just seems like these are the people. Like when you see the pictures of the people on like that were walking around Broadway in Nashville, or you see the pictures of people going to these shows, it's like they all. It just baffles me. There was a story about a guy in Texas who like went to some COVID party where the host had COVID and was like, it's a conspiracy. And the guy's last words were like, oh, it was real.
I made a mistake. Yeah.
I made a mistake. I just don't know what anybody's thinking. And here's the other kind of thing. And hot take, sorry, but like, I don't really know what you're thinking if you're a Chase Rice fan in the first place. So
oh, if you just drizzling crumbs all over the internet today.
So you've already got bad taste.
Right.
You've already made some bad decisions. So yeah, you just keep making bad decisions. The people that I really feel bad for are like other people that you've contacted after you went to this Chase Rice concert.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's all selfishness, and they're not thinking about other people. All right.
A good thing came out of Nashville this week, though.
What was that?
Did you hear the new Gillian Welch, David Rawlings?
Oh, wait a second. Hang on a second. Do we have a Crumbs music review?
Hey, man. What have you been listening to?
Music review. Music review.
That segue brought to you by hibiscus flavored LaCroix. It's not good.
The more I drink LaCroix, the more I realize it's just chemicals and water, man.
Oh, yeah.
It does not taste good. Go ahead.
Well, so, I mean, you know, there's a lot of wonderful things in that town that we just threw a lot of shade at. And one of the best things is Gillian Welch and David Rawlings. And
absolutely, they
released a home recording album of covers on Friday. And they cover Bobby Dylan tunes. They have some Elizabeth Cotton. They do Hello in there, John Prine, some traditional stuff. It is awesome. It's everything. Like those two just make me feel good. So if you want to put some music on that makes you feel good, put that covers record on. I think they're doing a pre-order for vinyl and stuff, but it is awesome. It sounds like it was recorded in their living room, which is kind of exactly how I want to hear those two.
Yeah, for sure.
They both sing leads. Perfect noodling.
Awesome. Can't wait to dive deep on that.
Great.
Also, throw money at that because I think their studio, Woodland Studios, right in the 5 Points. I think it got hit hard by the tornado, so I'm sure they're still reeling.
I think so, yeah.
That. So if you can throw some money their way, that's great. The only thing I've been listening to is this new album from about William Elliott Whitmore, but didn't even do this on purpose, wearing his shirt.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a side project called Dope Walker, which is like gnarly and heavy, and it's with like a bunch of guys from like 10 Grand and a bunch of other, it's like a huge hodgepodge of bands, and it's just kind of like, it's got the right kind of aggression for this moment. And so I've just been riding my bike and listening to Dope Walker.
Oh, awesome. So it's like it's like one song screaming and the next song's tears.
It's all screaming through the tears, man. That's all it is. All right, let's get our guest on here. Our guest, do you want to do an intro? Are you talking? I'm skipping. Uh-oh.
Abby?
Uh-oh. You there, Rye? I think we lost Ryan. He's just laughing on my screen. I love it. I'm going to bring Donnie on, and we'll get Ryan back when we get him. I'm going to pull him off. Donnie, hey.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. Okay, we lost Ryan for a minute.
Oh, wait. Okay, here's the intro.
Yeah, do the intro. I'm pulling Donnie off again.
Well, we've got what they call in the industry a get today, ladies and gentlemen. This man wears many hats. Along with being a fantastic songwriter, he is a promoter, harmonica done, a venue owner, the legendary Tonic Room in Chicago, and the head of music at Fitzgerald's in Berwyn. He's also a dear friend, and he lost his mustache recently. Ladies and gentlemen, Donnie Biggins.
There he is.
Hey. Hello.
Welcome to Crumbs, Donnie.
Thank you. I've been dying to eat this crummy sandwich with you guys.
Did you shave your mustache for this show specifically?
I noticed I'm going to stop doing it. I'm only thinking of crumb puns, and I need to stop.
No, let him go.
That's what you're here for.
No, I've been trying to stay clean shaven for a few days.
All right.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
How's it going for you? You like it?
The clean shaven?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to lick my lips.
When you get a little Topo Chico on there, you just lick it off.
That's right. Yeah.
It
feels real good. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
We're fine. Everything is fine.
Oh, I was just at Trader Joe's, and there's an opportunity there for some advertising if you're thinking about putting the show somewhere to market it.
Some Trader Joe's crumb butter.
That's their target demo, the Trader Joe's crowd.
Yeah, you got to wait in line outside. You can watch a little preview of the show.
Hey, we can make all sorts of songs Ryan can make and little animated videos. That'd be great.
So Donnie, first things first. You did the Fitzgerald's rolling truck show yesterday, right? You played in the bed of the truck. How did that go? I did one of those with you on a bicycle next to me. It's awesome. Did you enjoy being on the other side of the camera?
Yeah, it was a little strange, to be honest, and I was glad that I was able to go through the experience that you have and other performers. But we dropped the live feed aspect of it and just did, concentrating on the community and the visits. So that was a little different. I was to an advantage. I could repeat some songs if I wanted, or, thinking about being live for almost 2 hours. It's hard.
Yeah.
When I did that, I honestly think the most impressive thing of the whole experience was you riding a bicycle with one hand and the camera in the other hand, for
Mhm.
like 2.5 hours filming and riding the bike. And then like every time I'd turn and see you, I'd be like, I don't know how this guy's doing it. Like yeah. Exactly. So one of the things that you do, like one of the things that I, a lot of the people that we've been talking to, you like a lot of us, you wear a lot of different hats. I keep saying you wear a lot of hats. There's a better way to say that, but you're a musician, you're a promoter, you're a venue owner, and you're a talent buyer. And so you've seen this thing, you're in the thick of it. Before we get into like what's happening right now, can you talk a little bit about, you were in the you made news with the Tonic Room this week in Chicago. And one of the reasons that you made news, I saw that you and the Metro were on there, because as Chicago and Illinois let venues start to open up to cut capacity, you made a statement and came out very strongly saying that you weren't going to open. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that decision, why you're doing it, what made you get there.
Sure. I think that it would be a poor decision for me to open the venue. And it seems very obvious as well that it's just too small. And the reason that, having any amount of people in that small space safely is impossible to, it's not impossible to do it or to try to do it, but it's impossible to make any type of profit. The business would immediately just fail. It would take me like 4 weeks to go out of business. So just thinking about that, and then thinking about asking any of my staff to basically voluntarily put themselves back into a position that's uncomfortable for most human beings is just absurd for me to think about. So, thinking about the bigger venues or anything like that, like I don't speak for those owners, but the overhead costs of owning a business like that and trying to open at a small capacity is just really difficult to gauge.
Yeah, it's real wild because in Chicago, and Brian, I don't know what's going on in by you in Iowa City right now, but when things started to move in Illinois and Chicago inside of places, like inside of venues, some people jumped to do it. There's some jazz clubs that kind of jumped to be able to do something, but it was really weird because it felt like, and you talked a little bit about this, Donnie, in a post, where it almost seemed like this was more about the state being able to get sales tax again than it was about anybody's health or making a smart decision for anybody. And it seems like it's also a decision that's forcing businesses to fail. So I know you talked about that a little bit. Did that's kind of how it felt, right? Like this isn't about your business. This is about the chips.
Those options that we're provided with, they talk about getting everybody back to work and all these things, and at any dollar amount that I could make off of selling a beer would be going to utility bills, sales tax, like things that help everyone else besides my staff and myself. And so, I don't run a company to benefit these other, mass companies that have millions of dollars. And, so yeah, fuck that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand. Like, it seems to be just compounding itself, like this obsession with just opening in general. And the risk just keeps getting pushed further and further and further. Like we're talking about schools opening. I know you're a parent, Donnie. I don't know what's going on in Chicago, but here it's like they're debating how they're going to open schools so people can get back to work. And like you were saying, like to what end are people going back to work? Who's benefiting from that? And like, are we willing to not only risk our employees and stuff, but our kids, like, in order to do that? You know, where are you guys at with the school thing in Chicago?
All the districts are making their decisions, and I'm not sure what CPS is doing. I live out in Oak Park,
Right.
but they just decided, I believe, to, elementary schools are going to 2 days on site and then 2 days at home and then a day off for like a deep clean of the school. And so those, that schedule affects everybody, because
Right.
you think about like our public taxes going towards these facilities and having that resource available, and then having to come up with a plan now that is at home learning while you try to work your job at home. Or you think about, I'm not like, I don't know how to teach my children how to read. Like,
Right. Yeah.
like
skill that you have to learn.
teachers that are trained to do that, so it's like, and I'm not saying that I don't know how to read, by the way, on the Crumbs show. I am literate, but
That's not what I heard.
I don't know how to read. I got it. Yeah. But anyway, so, like, that's affecting our home life. And do we get a sitter so we can work? Do we try to work from home? And, it's kind of a mess. And it, every single parent right now is going through those decisions and trying to come up with the best way to, keep your kids safe and learn and progress in life. So it's very interesting, and I don't know the answers,
Right.
That's a big problem with anything, is the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of like knowing the answers, and by the way, just a real quick side note with the Tonic Room, Matt DeWine commented, legendary Matt DeWine, can't believe you guys have a music industry shit talking podcast and didn't tell me. Matt, you are 100% coming on Crumbs, my friend. We've got
Matt,
a lot to talk about.
Let him up.
Owner of the wonderful Pie Holden Studio in Chicago, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
one of the most entertaining mixing anyways, what I was going to say is you were sorry for that side
Hey,
note.
Matt.
But you were early on in Civil, right? The Chicago Independent Venue League. You were an early member of that, right?
Just a little bit before COVID,
But when that came together,
yeah.
kind of like fighting, initially that came together with concern
to battle Live Nation against the Lincoln Yards, like Sterling Bay development. That's really what pushed that union of all the venues, and that was Live Nation was trying to come in with like a soccer stadium and 1,000-person venue and a 500-person venue, 200, 100, or something like obscene, all on this compound that would be its own neighborhood. I'm sure very equitable for everyone to use this space too. But they're still building it, by the way. For some reason, we need more places to live on top of each other right now.
Right.
Yeah, like that. Well, that's kind of an interesting thing that we can touch on, because that whole development, Brian, I don't know if you've seen this story much, but like around the hideout. So they're basically, this company is building a neighborhood. And I think one of the things that Civil is talked a lot about, and then when it became national, is that venues and small, and I really think that small independent venues, they're these cultural, they're really important cultural spaces. They help build culture in cities. They help neighborhoods have character. Donnie, in Berwyn, I think that it's most people think of like the Berwyn Oak Park area where Donnie and I live. Fitzgerald's is one of the first things that a lot of people think about, because it's this cultural institution. And what what you see Live Nation and stuff doing is like not only bringing these venues in, but bringing whole neighborhoods in where it's like we're just going to create the whole cookie cutter thing. Have you seen with Civil, I forgot where I was going with this, but with Civil and the national one and this COVID thing
And Neva.
Yeah. Have you guys has this opened up more conversations between you and other venue owners?
Oh, completely. Yeah. And Civil has its own like leadership team. So I'm just like a participating venue. We now have like subcommittees of all different groups that I'm part of, like a special events group, and it's just at the beginning stages of thinking of grand ideas that we can do together, for our venues to survive and to produce some type of entertaining, something to keep the music alive, and do it together, which is pretty interesting and really great. So yeah, there's a lot of coming together right now. There's a lot of sharing information about financial information. Like, we are all sharing everything together to, lobby for the Restart Act, basically. And so that's all getting pushed now,
That's wild. I mean, to think about even a couple of years ago, you think about these like competitors and stuff, and now it's everybody working together. What seems to be the consensus out there? Like, what are people's big concerns? How does it look? How does the lobbying arm look? Like, how's it looking?
Yeah. So I think it's looking good, and it looks good in Illinois, at least. But what was it right before you said, repeat your questions?
I'm just wondering kind of what the consensus is like. How is it working? How is this union doing?
Right.
How is the lobbying going? I mean, I've seen a big social media push for the petition, seen a lot of people sharing it. It seems to have gotten a really good response.
Yeah.
From the public.
Yeah. I think it's going well. And, the reality is that we need funding and we need help, and we need the government to help us do that. So, hopefully we just see a positive return here. And I don't know why anyone would fight against it. This is so important to our culture and to the world. This is a worldwide, thing that we're all being affected. So help, they just got to help.
Right. Is that when you guys, you said you're just getting started in that, is the focus entirely on like the immediate need of everything? Like, we immediately need this help, or do you see it turning into a thing where you guys can talk about how you can work together in a post-COVID world to create like a different or better environment for music? Or is it just kind of like we are drowning and we need a lifeboat?
I think that it's more immediate right now, and that's kind of the way that we all need to be working, because trying to predict how things will change or which direction it's going to go is tiring, and so we just got to think about the immediate, and if we're able to succeed to that, then we can also just be able to plan, for the future. But that's an interesting, idea, because there's going to be a recovery period, and sticking together through that is important.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So speaking of like the immediate need of venues and the immediacy of how everything's going, you've been working on some stuff at Fitzgerald's to kind of fill the gaps. How's that been going, and what's kind of your approach been?
So our approach, it's kind of different for the way that you program, a venue. since we want to keep the outside free at all times, we've established this thing that we're calling voluntary cover charge, and it's like on your drink menu. So you sit down and order your drink, and you can see the different options to pay for the music. And the goal there is because, well, the goal is obviously to collect as much money as possible for the musicians and our music program. But the goal is also that we want people to feel welcome and invited and able to still enjoy music. We don't want to charge a ticket to enter the patio because that's just not fair to all of our patrons that would want to come, to see a show.
Right. And is it going well? Do people feel safe? Do they follow the rules on the patio?
They have been pretty good, to be honest. We have a mask policy that you have to enter the property with a face covering, and we ask that when anyone is communicating to staff that they're wearing, and then if you get up from your seat to put it on, and you really just have to kind of stick to these are the rules, and if you can't follow the rules, then you can't be here. So
right.
It's a simple ask, I think, in general, and yeah, to answer like, are people coming? Like, yeah, we've seen, we've had some really great nights, and I've never felt uncomfortable with the amount of people that are on there. They're all spaced, lots of small groups. So,
Outdoors.
it's all outdoors.
Yeah.
The bathrooms are inside. But yeah, sitting outside and listening to music is pretty incredible. It's a great feeling.
It is. I when I was there, I almost started crying. Because
it's nice. It's nice to see it's nice to see the patio set up how it is. It feels good.
What's your approach to, like programming music now in this, and like what are you looking for out there? Because Fitzgerald's is this. I mean, you've been how long have you been buying there now? It's been a while.
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And change of ownership, and then this. So like, Fitzgerald's is a place that there's a lot of like legacy Fitzgerald's acts that play there all the time. There's the touring bands, there's the local stuff. So like not only transitioning to a new owner, but like also this kind of current climate. What are you looking at, Donnie? How does a fellow like me get into a place like
this is, hey, I was about to text you. So this is a show about the music industry, right? So I can talk about some nerdy talent buying stuff.
Oh yeah.
Sure. Brian, you might enjoy this, but it's really hard to offer a guarantee to an agent when everything's an unknown, including the world. So it's very hard to promise anything. And so I'm taking the approach of not doing any type of offers like that, which changes a lot of my communication and a lot of just how things work in general. And some people are cool with it, some whatever, they just are not for now, which is fine. But it's been interesting because that kind of changes the way I communicate, and what groups I'm working with or talking to. But we're trying to book a lot of different genres out there, and I haven't done any real like singer-songwriter type of shows, mainly because of the amount of like space and people chit-chatting, and it just seems like it wouldn't go over as great as like a 4-piece, jazz combo or a bluegrass, or a blues band. It's just I don't know, but maybe we'll get Rye Joe up there, he'll sell it out, and then I'll change my perspective.
Well, you did something that I thought was awesome, which was the Waco Brothers like drive-in show at Reuse Depot. Do you think you guys will do more special, secret, bigger events like that too?
Yes.
Okay, you heard it here,
Well, that
folks. Crumbs
that-
exclusive.
That was a really cool thing too, because you had
Yeah.
band, how many people are in the Waco Brothers? Like 6?
5.
5. And so you had
Yeah.
5 different pickup trucks, and
Yeah.
each guy was on their own pickup truck. That's talk about social distancing on stage. Like everybody just gets their own stage in that situation.
There
Well,
are regularly moments with Jen and I where she tells that I'm like, she can tell that I'm very upset that I sold my pickup truck for a minivan. And that was one of them. Like, just like, oh, probably could have gotten
I
my
coulda-
pickup truck into that if I
I could have
started-
used that. I could have used that truck, Ryan.
I got this white minivan and no kids.
I have to give credit to my wife, Anna, for the pickup truck idea, because I was texting with John Langford, and he was asking me, how am I going to guarantee that they're spaced on stage? And so then I was thinking about like using reused depot pallets and making a 24-foot stage, and like,
Yeah.
and then as the date was getting closer, I kept being like, I'm not going to build this huge stage. I can't,
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and the money, whatever. So, and then she was like, why don't you just do it on a bunch of trucks? So, it was an easy, I texted it to John and he said, hell yeah. So
How is the vibe there? Were people pumped? And
yeah, I mean, it felt really good. It felt like, pretty distance safe. We asked people to stay like on their vehicle or in their car, and pretty much everyone kind of got out and was standing either at the front of their car or at the back. But then they had masks on, and it wasn't a lot. We didn't like sell. We could have, when you think about like selling tickets to something and maximizing potential, it's just like, we didn't go that way. We went on the safe side. But it felt really good. They were a great band to have on trucks, like, super energetic and jumping all over the place and doing the Waco kicks. I don't know if they have a different name for that, but you know what I'm talking about.
I have a question for both of you, because this kind of touches on something you were just talking about. Before COVID, both of you as talent buyers talked to me about your preference for door deals, which makes sense from a venue's perspective. Totally. Gets harder for some touring bands and stuff to, obviously there's give and take there. Moving out of this, I've heard a lot of people talk about how, even like Live Nation has talked about, or, door deal stuff. So can you talk to me a little bit, like both of you, your take on door deals, and maybe even like for some people, the benefits for a band of doing a door deal, or how you both like Donnie, you and I have talked a lot about how you like to build bands in your clubs. That you have a path for bands to kind of, move up the ladder from playing the Tonic Room up to playing the American Music Festival. So can you talk a little bit about that and door deals in general?
Sure. Yeah, a door deal is always the best deal for a venue, because it's the least amount of risk. And thinking about the future, like, it would be a dream come true if everyone would just go to door deals for the immediate future, because we're all resetting and we need to, like, and I think people will feel more towards this way as they do try to reopen, and at some point, whenever that is. But I've been going through that with the patio at Fitzgerald's, and it's like rethinking about how much money, like, people are willing to spend on live entertainment, and how much a band once made versus what they might make as they come out of this. And I think the reality from my experience so far is that everything is just a little bit less. And that has to do with, I think, unemployment and people's spending patterns. And so going to door deals would be an advantage, obviously, for the ones hosting the entertainment. And, it'd be really nice of everybody, for everyone to participate in that way, because we've been giving y'all guarantees for forever,
Yeah. I guess my take on door deals, I think the show changes. What show it is changes my perspective on door deals a lot. Because if you're booking like a 2,000 cap theater, you're going to have a lot of built-in expenses for both the venue and the artist. And there's an advantage to having them all on paper and saying like, okay, like the venue needs to make up this much money because that's how much we're spending on these things. The band needs to make this much money and have this much for hotels. And I think you, as a promoter, you can build in a promoter profit to that. So you can be, 15% of the total expenses to the promoter then gets paid back, before there's a back end split. And I think that makes sense on like a 2,000 cap. But like for a room like the Tonic Room, any guarantee makes it really, really difficult because the Tonic Room has expenses, and I don't know what they are, but like, let's say it's like $200 for sound and door, right? And that's like base level expenses. That doesn't account for staffing the bar or rent or utilities or anything. That's just to open the doors. And so if you're at the Tonic Room, and what's your cap there? 85, something like that?
99.
99. Wow. Great number. So you have a maximum amount of 99 people coming in. The size of band that can play a room that's 99 people, you're probably not going to be charging more than $10 to $15 unless it's a really big band that's doing an underplay. So if it's a $10 ticket, you need the first 20 people have to pay for the doors to be opened. And then let's say you have a $500 guarantee. Well, the next 50 people are covering the guarantee. And so the odds of, I would say on average, most bands probably don't draw 70 people to a Tonic Room show. And that's true for every venue. Your cap might be 500, but the average amount of people who are going to come into the venue is like 250, 200 if you're doing it well. So it just the math doesn't work out as well in a smaller venue. You need more people at a lower ticket price to account for it. And more often than not, the venue is going to get screwed because you're going to sell 60 tickets. And now all of a sudden, half of the expenses are not being covered because you have to give $500 to the band. So the advantage for a venue, this is just kind of like layman terms things for people who maybe aren't familiar. With a door deal, it's typically pretty aggressively in favor of the bands, right? It's typically like 60, 70, 80% goes to the band that comes in the door. And then the other 20, 30, or 40% would go to the venue. And 60, 40 is you don't see a lot of that. It's more like 70 to 80% goes to the band. And the nice thing is, from the first ticket that's sold, the venue is getting some money back. And they're never going to get stuck with all their expenses and owing money to the band. It's just not going to happen. And it encourages a band to promote better and to get more people out. Now, the argument on the other side of why it's good for a band is that as the math starts adding up, and if you start doing guarantees, and then there's got to be more expenses built in for the venue, and all of it's on the books, you could end up actually making less money with a guarantee than if you just pack the place on a door deal. There's some bands like Flogging Molly forever. I don't know if this is true anymore, but they were playing huge theaters and they would still just say, nope, our deal's 85% of the door, and because they knew they would get the people out. They knew that people would be psyched, and the venues were fine with it because they knew their crowd drank a ton.
Is it true? Doesn't Bruce Springsteen do that?
Bruce Springsteen, yeah. Well, basically,
wasn't there something that he was like he gets 100% of the door at like arenas or something?
Yeah,
yeah. Last time I booked Bruce Springsteen, he got 100% of the door.
I'd give Bruce 100% of the door.
Well, and it's crazy because when you get into the guarantee realm, I remember when I was working venues in California, there would be rooms. I guess I won't name names because maybe it's not cool. But there are rooms who are owned by people with a ton of money who would guarantee these young up and coming bands 110% of the door. And they just wanted the band in the room. And so the maximum money that could be made on the show, you know, is like $20,000, and they're getting like a 20 to 50 guarantee. And it's just like, it makes it impossible for other venues who are actually like more supportive of local art and stuff to actually make money, because the costs get inflated for everybody. I
always thought it was,
and door deals are great. Sorry, one more point. The reason I mostly love door deals is because you are paid what you are worth every single time. You are worth the amount of tickets, the amount of people you bring to a venue. And if you're getting paid a direct percentage of the door, then you're getting paid what you're worth, in my opinion. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
That's good.
No, I just thought, like, I think Donnie and I have talked about this a lot too, that there are bands. It's interesting with what you do, Donnie, because you have these different places, because you're also a promoter that works outside sometimes of the venues that you know you're associated with, mainly Tonic Room and Fitzgerald's, but you've done stuff in other places too to accommodate bands that you've built. Right. I mean, I think there are some bands. You were the first person to put in Shovels and Rope in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And Wolfpack,
yeah.
And some of these big bands that you kind of helped, you know, well they, you know, but you were their kind of jumping off point. I was their
support line, you know, for at the beginning, and I love that position, to be honest. Like, that's my favorite thing about being a promoter and this industry, is knowing people at that level of success. But anyways, yeah.
Well, and so it's been interesting to see kind of some shows that you've been in, and we've talked about this before, where there's definitely a roadmap in Chicago, especially I would say in like the Americana world, where you have these places where it's like, look, if you play your cards right, you come to this venue, you're going to get a really fair deal. You do well in this room, there are all these other places that we can go. You know, it's kind of old school. And it's always shocking sometimes to see people that don't get that. So you've had bands that have like really successfully done that, and you've had bands that haven't. Do you like having that kind of wiggle room, that ability to be able to build bands, or do you find that doesn't happen as much anymore?
I think that it still happens, but I do like getting the band at the beginning and giving them the options to follow the path that I have mapped out in my brain of how it can work in Chicago to slowly move up the chain, you know, like move up the line, get to play at every venue that you want to play at. It's just a lot of bands want to come in and play a room that they're not ready for. And also I think that can be a management issue, and the manager is saying, no, they gotta be here. And it's all about image, and it's all about this, you know, more than what it is and where you're checking into on Instagram. But playing a small room such as Tonic Room and getting 100% of the door after $200, you were right on there, Brian.
Hey,
it's interesting. I think we've had that conversation before.
It's almost like I played there a couple months ago.
But hey, I was there. So anyways, but you know, like, sell the room out, move up. Your new fans that are experiencing your first show, and it's crowded for the first time, and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? You know, like, you don't want to play your first show and have no one there. And trust me, I've played plenty of my first shows with nobody there, and more than my first show there and nobody there. But it's just like if your first impression is like a packed room, even if it's small, everyone's gonna love it, and they are so much more likely to move up with you and keep that energy. And it's like, there's a very simple path that I see for Chicago, and if you commit to it and you're good, it's going to happen.
There's an excellent conversation. It's like a panel discussion at South by Southwest from a couple years ago. Man, it's way more years than I expected in my head. But when Sturgill Simpson was blowing up, it was like 6 or 7 years ago. And it was Jonathan Levine, who's his agent, who's a fantastic agent, a really smart agent. And he talked a lot about, I'll find a link and post it in the comments, but he talked a lot about what you're talking about, how when he was blowing up, they got offered to play the Ryman, and the Ryman probably would have at least 1/2 to 3/4 sold the Ryman, which is great. But instead they opted to do 2 nights at 3rd and Lindsley, which is a much smaller venue. They were packed. They were kind of like legendary shows, and everybody was saying, I was there, who was there, was like excited to be a part of it. So if you're, let's say like there's a new band and they're asking you for advice, and they're like, how do you know when it's appropriate to say, I want to play I want to move up to a 200, 250 cap room, and I've been playing these 100 cap rooms for a while. At what point do you have to sell out the 100 cap room? Or is it like, what kind of advice would you give to a band like that?
Yeah, I think you have 2 options, and that is to, yes, sell out. You need to sell out that room first before you move up. Or at least get close to selling out the room, play another room, and be willing to go back to the smaller one and really sell it out. That would be, a good decision in my eyes. But there's also the other side of like trying to build yourself within some type of scene in a city, and learning about, different groups that can help, actually promote your band too. Just not expecting it just like to fall on the venue, or we're going to play this trendy place and people are just going to be there. That doesn't happen.
No.
All,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The biggest pet peeve of any talent buyer is a musician that doesn't promote the show and expects you to do it. Even if you are from out of town and have never been in the city before and don't know anybody, like at least post about it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Put $5 behind an ad, because like you never know when somebody's going to be like, oh, my cousin that lives in Chicago, like you should go check this band out. I saw them in Denver or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
Another trick, Brian, I'm sure you've seen this, is Spotify plays. So like, the inquiries that I'll get a band that has 50,000 Spotify plays on a song, and their third location is Chicago, and this how many listeners in Chicago, and an agent will offer it like that, and well, no shit, they'll sell out Tonic Room. Look at this. Yeah. Look at these stats. So I can't use those stats for anything anymore. I fell victim to that trick very early, and was like, sure, I'll give you a couple $100 and guarantee, and let's do it. And it was just like, I don't know, 7 people maybe.
I remember my old like band, college era, right after college band, that when MySpace was the thing. And it went from, because I remember when we used to have to take like actual media packets to venues. Like we did a regular thing at this place right across the street from where the Tonic Room is. There used to be a place called Griffin's that's gone now. That was this like jam band bar. It was awesome. But I remember
all those people either work at Tonic Room or hang out at Tonic Room now. Yeah. So hey everybody.
This is a lot. Yeah, this is like, oh my God, got to be 15 years ago. And I remember going there to get the gig with our keyboard player, and we had like an actual like press kit with like a picture of all awful stuff. But then I remember when it switched to MySpace and it was MySpace Plays, and the whole thing is like every band was just keep playing your song on MySpace because that's what people are booking on.
Yeah.
Like, keep doing that. Then it was
But-
Facebook likes, all of this stuff. Everybody always thinks that they can find something where it's like ticket sales are ticket sales.
Yeah, man.
Like the only metric you can get with like judge ticket sales by are ticket sales.
You can fool a venue one time, and then you're gonna get like banned for life.
We have a really good question here that I would
Yeah.
love to hear what you have to say about, Donnie, which is from Charlie. Can you talk about a path for support, like opening acts that might work? So, what are you looking for? And this will tie into another thing that I want to talk to both of you about too, because one of the things that's happening right now is local music. Local music is, very important right now. And I think a lot of bands, a path for local bands is supporting a bigger touring act. What do you think? Do you have any tips for artists that are hoping to do that or submitting to do that?
Yeah, I have found a few different successful moments of random inquiries like this, and kind of been like, oh, this would be a great fit. And, I just didn't know who the band was before that. And then also I get like fixed on putting a lot of similar groups that I'm currently personally fond of and thinking that we need to boost this, this is a band that has, in my eyes, potential to keep growing and start touring or whatever. And that they have that drive to do it too. But I would always like suggest to submit to something that you actually fit on, and never send an email that says I'm willing to open for anyone.
Yeah.
Just because then I'm not even willing to respond. No, I'm just joking. But
I'm not. I
No,
won't.
he's not.
I don't respond to that.
I'm moving now to the next email. No, but that's just like, you don't want to be desperate sounding like, and I often go back to the first email I sent to Shuba's to try to book a show, and like it's just horrible. It's a horrible email, and maybe I can publish it one day, but it's just full of crap, and and some crumbs sprinkled on top. But I didn't get the show for a long time, and so you got to be persistent in a respectful manner, and just know that if you are reaching out blindly or reaching out to someone you've never talked to before, like, understand that they don't know who you are, and there has to be a reason why you're asking for this in general.
Yeah, I mean, I have like so many opinions on how you email a talent buyer about things, but like you said, like, it's not, you shouldn't just sheepishly be like, can I open for this band? Like, explain why you would be a good opening act for that band. Explain what you're going to add to the show. If you are going to bring, if you know that you can bring, let's say 40 people to your normal show, and I would say you could probably bring maybe 20 people who weren't going to already go to that show to this other show. That's a great thing to say. And that's going to be reflected in how you're paid. And just be honest, man, because we know when you're lying. Like, when you've done this job for a little while, you can tell when people are lying. It's easy to figure it out. And we all know each other. And so if you say, well, we had a great show at the bar down the street a couple weeks ago, it's like, that guy. You could be like, hey, did they have a great show? And they'd be like, no, they sucked. Like, they brought nobody. Like, don't lie. And if you're really, really just starting and you have no experience and no shows and none of that, you're not ready to open for anybody. You got to go play the open mics and you got to meet people. And it goes back to what Ryan was saying about how local music is important right now, because the way you get those gigs is through your local scene and going to people's shows, hanging out with people in your scene, becoming friends with them, and then you start opening for them on local shows. And then once you have something under your belt and and you can actually make an effect on a show by opening it, then you reach out to talent buyers and you say, hey, you've got Ryan Anderson coming through town. I kind of do a different kind of style of finger picky thing, but I think it'll work well together. And here's some videos. Here's how many tickets I sold last show I played. That's how you get on those shows for local shows. Now, to get on touring shows, is like getting on a tour is 100% relationship and being friends with that band. There's no agent in the world who can guarantee you that you're going to be opening for Jason Isbell on his next tour. Like, it's not.
Why am I here on the show? I thought we were gonna.
This is an intervention, Donnie.
Here's a question. So,
wait, are you gonna switch it up? Because I just had one comment about that. Really?
No, I'm still on this. I want to hear your comment.
Sorry, Ryan. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I love this.
Cut him off.
I love this. We're really crumbing here, guys.
Think about, Brian, how many times, like, when you reflect on a show and it was a big show and there's an opener, one of the most common questions is, did the opener bring anybody?
Right.
And that is discussed throughout staff and people, and like everyone that works at a venue is a part of the breathing venue business. It's like we all have opinions and talk about shows after they're done, because your audience makes a big difference about how things are booked, and if we want you back, or it's just like, so
right.
That opening for a band, no matter what, is just like, it's a really important thing. I don't know.
It is. And I see a lot of people who think that they don't have to promote the show because they're the opening band, who think the headliner is going to bring the people. And as you open more shows, you start to realize that's not really true. People you thought were maybe kind of big are not really going to pack the room,
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want to headline that place and make a promoter go, bring 20 people to a 100-cap show that you're opening. And then that would definitely get that person's attention, and also be good. That's also part of all of this. This is all assuming that you're good.
Well, and I think that a very important part of this all, and I've talked to a lot of bands I've played in, I've talked to bands I've worked with, but opening for building, build your fan base. Did you lose me?
It's brief. Start over again. Yeah.
Opening for bands is really important when you find the right band or you find the right acts to building your fan base. So like when you research, I used to spend time looking on, I would see what's going on at Fitzgerald's or see what's going on at Space, look at these different venues and be like, I think the people that listen to whoever this is are going to like what I do. And then when you send stuff, what I was going to ask you guys is, so I see bands submitting to open shows that have no recorded music, no videos, no internet presence. So I would say that to you guys as buyers, are those important? Are you watching videos when they send them? Like, you need a representation, right? So I think some people assume that you don't, but you need a video or a link or any of that, right? Like, I know that seems easy, but
it's not as common. Yeah, what you're talking about happens all the time, where people are like, I have a blues band, can we play? It's like, I don't know, can you?
So you watch video.
100%. In today's day and age, it is inexcusable for you to not have at least a YouTube video of what your band is going to look like when I book them.
I only send YouTube links of Crumbs episodes.
And that explains why. That is the only reason you don't have any shows right now. There's nothing else going on.
That's right.
No, it's inexcusable. And if you're coming through solo and you have a band, you have to have a solo video, because if I watch a video of you and your 7-piece band, I have no idea what you're going to sound like in my venue. So Yeah, Donnie, I'm sure you have ideas on this too.
Yes. I watch videos, and I also feel like I can book a band or place a band within about 25 seconds of listening or less. And I know like if I really like it really quickly. And I also, I've booked lots of things that might not be my personal favorite thing, and I always book stuff like that, So that's the interesting part of being a talent buyer, is like getting outside of what I listen to regularly, and working in that, realm.
Right. You just get a feel for if it's going to work, and like,
Yeah.
you don't have to like it, but you can still tell if it's good.
Yeah.
And I've seen you both do this. I mean, you've both done it for me, but like when you get in when people do a good job or you like their stuff, you will reach out to them for certain shows. Then like you'll have shows that need an opening act, and then you'll send these bands stuff like, hey, I've got, so-and-so coming. Can you guys do it? So that's why it's even more important. Like if you do submit to open for a band, knock it out of the park, because that buyer will take note and put you in rotation.
Yeah, that's like pretty much always the case. And placing bands in that way, I mean, that happens all the time. And sometimes it might be a message that's like, you don't have to do anything on this one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably the best type of opening slot.
Oh man,
but
that's my favorite email in the world.
but you still want like the band, to. Another thing is like, don't think you're better than everybody.
No.
Like don't
Wait, I need my.
I
need to
Ryan,
write
are you taking notes?
I need to write this one down.
We are both like subtly talking directly to Ryan with all of our
but you know what I mean? Like, come in and be friendly and get to know this band, because if you do actually want to proceed with a musical career, you have to make friends with people that might be ahead of you and get to know them, and they'll want you back. Like, there's lots of bands that are touring these markets nonstop that they'll ask, for the same group of bands to open for them, because they get along and they're buddies and they know that it's a good show,
Totally. Yeah, 100%. And like I said, it's all about the relationships that you make. Like, don't be a dick. Be willing to do something that you may perceive as being beneath you, because like if it is beneath you and we're asking you to do it, we know it's beneath you and we'll owe you one. Or maybe that's just actually where you are and you just didn't know it. But like, yeah, if you reach out and you want to open for somebody and the buyer says, I don't have that, but can you open this other show? Don't just be like, no, like, you're going to have to work with everybody at some point. Just be nice to everybody. That's what I say.
I would also say, like, as a talent buyer, if I am offering you that counter option or something, like I'm considering that would work for you and that would be a good option, like I don't know. I never try to just piece together random. That's a thing about being a promoter, but going up through the Chicago music scene in the last 10 years, like, Ryan, you can relate to seeing bills that, lineups not making sense and none of, and like that never made any sense to me. And I try to avoid it as much as humanly possible. It's not just a numbers game. It's also an environment and experience.
That advice I just gave was learned the hard way. I'm just going to, our friend Andre, who is on the show, used to book the Mill here in town. And I really wanted to open a show for Joe Pug. And he said, maybe, but can you open this show for Paul Thorne with your band? And I had no idea who Paul Thorne was. And it was like, I was like, what's Paul Thorne's deal? And he's like, I don't know. He's like an older Americana guy. Like,
he was a boxer.
Yeah, I know. He didn't do a good job of explaining it either, but he was like, I just like need you to open that show. And I was like, oh, fine. And like, my band, we showed up late. Like, we just like didn't care, missed sound check. We start loading in and the mill is packed. Like every table is full. We're like loading our gear through the tables, trying to do a sound check. My microphone is shocking me. Like everything's going wrong. And I was just like pissed off at myself so much. And at the end, we were like, that's our last song. Thanks. And Andre came up and he's like, just play one more song. And I'm like, dude, no, we're done. Like, and he's like, just play one more. And I'm like, no, everybody off the stage. Like, and then he's like, okay. And then after that, I was like, why did you did we not play long enough? He's like, no, it's just like Paul Thorne just came in and I wanted him to see your band because it might help you. And I was just like, the whole thing, I was so mad at myself the whole time. I made every wrong move. So don't be 21-year-old Brian for many reasons, but for that reason as well.
Well,
Yes.
This was fantastic. A lot of good information. Hopefully, we will be able to do the thing we love to do soon and resume all this. But I have one more question for you, Donnie, which is you have to listen to a ton of music, and you have to listen to a lot of bands, and you're always finding new stuff. What you listening to right now? What's hot in the world of Donnie Biggins?
This guy named Neil Young.
He good.
He's got a great new record, but
His another new old record.
New old record.
How
Is
does
it
he
a new
keep
old?
finding records that were like, yeah, I shelved this one in 1972?
is that what happened?
Yes,
Seriously?
and he
I
keeps.
haven't even.
There's so many of these records that are like, yeah, I just shelved this one in.
This one was the follow-up to Harvest, right?
Yeah.
It was like the next one. Like he just remembered, oh yeah, I made another record then.
That's wild. I didn't prepare, Ryan.
This is
This-
what they call a gotcha question.
You did get me. So
What are your favorite?
I'm gonna give a shout out to Caitlin Mahoney, who works at Harmonica Dunn, and she has been influencing me into tons of new Chicago music. And so, she helps. She does all of our social media, and we're doing this thing every week featuring a new artist called Elephant in the Room, and so she's been huge in getting me into more, new Chicago stuff. And we just promoted Psalm 1's big Silky release that came out last week. And Psalm 1 and I have worked together for a long time. And so that feels good to, I'm in these two worlds. I'm in the Fitzgerald's world and Tonic Room world.
Yeah.
And they're not the same at all. So I book jam bands and hip hop and indie rock at Tonic Room, and then I'm like all Americana, blues and folk, and and we're working on trying to change more of that too with some Fitzgerald's music, and bring in some new stuff. But I didn't really name any artists there.
What's your favorite? Like when things can get back. What's name a band that you book a lot that would like your favorite show? First show you would want to put on the first woo.
I want to book Blackfoot. Well, the OGs, the ODGs, I think, or what the old Blackfoot Gypsies. They changed their name.
They did.
Yeah, and
That
I want them. I want them to play Tonic Room when there's a vaccine, because that was the best party I've ever been to in my life, and I think they played for 4 hours straight.
Damn.
And I only advanced, I think, a 90-minute set. So,
Which can be good and bad.
yeah, that was a serve them till the last drop type of show that we really needed.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's my answer.
Sweet, man. Well, I think we might have lost Ryan there. He looks pretty
Okay.
frozen. Let's all
If I could make a call to action.
Yeah.
So Harmonica Dunn has a playlist on Spotify called Music to Stay Home To, and that's Caitlin you know, she's doing a lot of that work, and I contribute a little bit, but that's really been driving my new music, is whatever goes into that playlist. And so we can make a little call to action and post it maybe on the comments or something.
I'm posting it right now. Just looked it up.
Cool.
There you go. Listen to that playlist, friends.
Well, Donnie, keep fighting the good fight. Thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes another week of Crumbs. We don't know who is on next week. Maybe it'll be Donnie again.
I'll come back. Maybe I can come back with Matt DeWine. We'll be together. Separate.
Yeah.
That could be a time and a half. But thanks for crumbing, everybody.
All right, guys.
Bye bye.
See you next week.
I gotta get my crime. I need to find some.